What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, so we are going to do a full story video. A full story video is when I sit down, take a bunch of videos that tell one overarching storyline and combine them together into one big video. Now, today's full story video is going to be over, well, Forever Evil. It was one of the many different crossovers in the DC's New 52 era. Now, when it comes to Forever Evil, it was all about the Justice League technically losing to the Crime Syndicate, the evil version of the League that comes from another Earth. And matter of fact, they come over to the main DC universe and take over the Earth. Now, with that being said, the world was saved by Lex Luther and other villains who were willing to work alongside with him to bring down the Crime Syndicate. Now, this is kind of like a prelude to Darkseid War. And you see what I mean as we go through this actual video and we go through our coverage over Darkseid War as well. But either way, I do hope you enjoy today's comic book video. Later, guys.
Now the story opens up with Lex Luthor flying around in his helicopter around Metropolis. Now this story picks up right after Lex was clear of all the charges that was on his head. And so he's going around trying to continue his goal, which is going around buying all the different companies in Metropolis to build something special. Right now, the next business he is trying to buy is Cord Industries. And he is talking to Thomas Cord about buying the company, which of course you have Thomas saying no to Lex about trying to buy the company. Now you do have Lex basically tell Thomas that he will go after his family if Thomas does not pass over the company to Lex. But before Lex is able to keep going on with his threats, you have something hit the helicopter and it crashes into Lex Tower. But when he looks down at his phone, he sees his phone say, "The world is ours." Now, the story does jump over to Nightwing, and right now he is taking Mr. Zsasz to Arkham Asylum. Now, Nightwing will play a very important role in this storyline, which honestly, before this, his main role was being a possible talent for the Night of Owl storyline. But when he gets to Arkham Asylum, he sees somebody just rip the doors off the front gate. And so he decides to jump in to stop this mysterious person from doing anything else. The problem is when he goes in for the attack, he gets jumped from behind by some random person. And then you have both mysterious people start beating up on Nightwing, where it looks like someone using a rope and pulling him by the neck. Now the story does jump over to Iron Heights, which is located in Central City, the home of the Flash. But we pick up with the Rogues trying to break into Iron Heights, which, by the way, is a prison, to break out one of their friends. Now the Rogues are basically a group of Flash enemies working together as a team. But when they are trying to break into Iron Heights, out of nowhere, they all see a red streak pass by them. And so they automatically think it is the Flash. But when they go to watch what they think is the Flash, they watch this person just kill off all security guards, like actually ripping off all of their flesh and leaving just bones alone. And so you have Captain Cold say that is not the Flash at all. Now we jump back to Lex Luthor, and remember, his helicopter crashed into Lex Tower, and so of course you have him trying to figure out what happened. But when he finally gets back up, he sees another streak pass by him, which was blue. But then he is able to get a clear view of the person who passed by him, which right off the bat, he believes that is Superman. But you have this man go into a secret room of Lex Luthor and grabs a huge sample of kryptonite. But he turns it into dust so that he can inhale the kryptonite, which we come to find out whoever this is, he needs kryptonite to get stronger. And so that tells us, and even Lex Luthor, that this is not Superman. Also because Lex sees a U on the chest, which tells us this is definitely not Superman. Now we jump over to the Justice League Tower that has crash land in the middle of Rhode Island. And with that happening, you have all these different supervillains appear around the building. That is when you have a group of people walk out and say something that every supervillain cannot believe. This group of people say they killed off the Justice League, which is something huge to say. But of course, you always have that one person who just cannot wrap their heads around it. He calls the group a bunch of liars, which of course leads the man who looks like Superman to kill the guy to prove he is not playing around. They are not the Justice League. They are the Crime Syndicate. You have the man who looks like Clark say he is Ultraman. And then he goes around to introduce other people on the team. Superwoman, who's supposed to be Wonder Woman. Power Ring, which of course is supposed to be the Green Lantern. Owlman, which is Batman. Johnny Quick, who's supposed to be the Flash. Atomica, who's supposed to be Captain Atom. Deathstorm, who's supposed to be Firestorm. And finally Grid, who's supposed to be Cyborg. But all these people right here, they're from a different Earth, a different universe, Earth 3. But they are going around saying that they are from another universe that they used to rule, until the people started to fight back against their rule. They basically destroyed the whole planet and came over here to this Earth to take over it. The reason why they broke out all the supervillains is because they want the world ruled by people who are all bad. Now, they also do two things here after announcing themselves. They show everybody who came to the meeting that they have captured Nightwing. But the big thing about them showing him off is that they reveal he is Dick Grayson. And so now the whole world knows that Dick Grayson is Nightwing. They are showing this all over the world on live television as well. But after the little speech, you have Ultraman move the moon over the sun because apparently the sun is a weakness to Ultraman, where for Superman, the sun powers him up. But you have Ultraman move the moon in front of the sun so he will not be affected by it at all. And so the second chapter does pick up with Lex Luthor right now in some underground base he built underneath LexCorp. Now, Lex Luthor does not like the idea of the Crime Syndicate ruling over the world. And so right now, he is trying to figure out what he can do to basically get rid of them. And so when he gets to a certain door, he sees a random security guard who is guarding some special door that is locked. But this is Lex Luthor kind of hinting that whatever is behind that door could really help to get rid of the Crime Syndicate. So we do jump over to the Crime Syndicate. We come to find out that they are using the wreckage of the Justice League Tower as their base. But some of the things we do learn is that Ultraman and Superwoman are a couple. Johnny Quick and Atomic are also a couple as well, just a very strange one there. But we also learn that Owlman brought over his Alfred. Now, there are a few things I need to sit down and tell you guys just real quick. Even though Ultraman is Clark Kent from Earth 3, Superwoman is actually Lois Lane from Earth 3. Owlman is Thomas Wayne Jr. Johnny Quick is actually Jonathan Allen, but Power Ring is Harold Jordan, aka Hal Jordan. But while we are currently focusing on the Crime Syndicate, we learn they have two prisoners, which we do know that one of them is Dick Grayson, but the other one, we have no idea who it is. We won't learn about the other prisoner until almost the end of this story actually. But we also learn that Earth 3 was not destroyed by the Crime Syndicate like they say it was. Really, it was destroyed by some unknown force. Their goal is to use the other prisoner as a way to defeat this unknown force. But while Ultraman is leaving to find more kryptonite to stay strong, we have Owlman and Superwoman talking about the fact that she is pregnant and Owlman is the father. Now, you have everyone go on their own separate missions to take care of a few things, but we pick up with the Teen Titans attacking the base of the Crime Syndicate because they are trying to break Nightwing out. Now, at first, they had the idea that they will be able to stop the Crime Syndicate, which is crazy to think that because you are talking about the evil versions of the Justice League. And these guys were the ones to have supposedly defeat the Justice League. And so you have the Teen Titans really thinking they will be able to stop the Crime Syndicate. But you have just Johnny Quick and Atomica run up on the Teen Titans and defeat every single one of them. Like Johnny Quick and Atomica was able to take them out, but the one person who was affected by this the most was Bart Allen, because Johnny Quick figured out that Kid Flash is from the future, and so Johnny Quick was able to speed up the molecules of Bart Allen and send him back into the future. Now we jump back over to Lex Luthor and the security guard. Now you have Lex Luthor tell the security guard to open up the door, where you have Lex Luthor reveal that he made a clone of Superman, which we all know that this is Bizarro, where he is making his first appearance in the New 52 era of DC. But Lex Luthor made Bizarro to rival Superman. But here comes the big thing. Bizarro was supposed to be a 10-year project, which right now he is only 5 years in, meaning that Bizarro is not complete yet. And so when Lex Luthor opens up the case holding Bizarro, we see that he has the strength of Superman or close to it. But Bizarro has an IQ of a baby or even a toddler, which is really not good. If you want someone next to you on the battlefield, well, you want that person to have some form of intelligence. But Bizarro, of course, does not have any intelligence at all. But you have Lex Luthor reveal his power armor as well, in hoping it will be enough to stop the Crime Syndicate. But to wrap up the second chapter of this story, we pick up with Silas Stone, who is the father of Cyborg. But right now, with the world being taken over by the Crime Syndicate and every other supervillain out there as well, they are trying to build some form of defense to protect Star Labs, because this lab is holding some powerful technology in the world. But while they are trying to get everything ready, you have the main door just get blasted open. And we see that Catwoman and Batman are not dead. They are alive and they are holding the body of Cyborg as well. And you have Batman hand Cyborg over to his father to see if Silas can actually save Cyborg's life. But then you have Silas ask Batman the big question: where is the Justice League? You have Batman say they did not make it, only him and Catwoman did. Now you have Batman and Catwoman explain what happened to the Justice League, and that is when you have Batman say it all started with Cyborg. Now guys, remember, Cyborg is half machine, half human, and so what they did, they split those two sides into two. And so the machine side basically left the man side alone, and that formed Grid, leaving Cyborg just a head and a torso, because everything else about Cyborg was machinery, and that side became its own personality. Now you have Batman say that was the first move. The second move was Superman. By putting a kryptonite bullet in his head, that took the Man of Steel off the board. And so it's kind of like, okay, that's two folks out of the way. But you have Batman say the last move was Firestorm. Now, guys, remember, Firestorm is a combination of two people. They have to combine together to make Firestorm. But you have Batman say what happened was Deathstorm, the Earth 3 counterpart to Firestorm, basically pushed Firestorm powers beyond his control. And with that happening right there, Firestorm did not just absorb his two usual people, he absorbed every single member of the Justice League. And so every single member is right now trapped inside Firestorm's body. And you have Batman say, we barely got away. But as soon as Batman says that, he looks at the television and he sees that Dick Grayson has been captured by the Crime Syndicate. But we jump over to Lex Luther and Bizarro in the middle of Metropolis. But right now you have Lex Luthor's goal to set up a connection to his satellite he has hidden in the astral belt in space. But he put it out there as a way to hide it from the Justice League. And so right now Lex Luthor is lucky again because the Crime Syndicate cannot find it either, because it's hidden in the astral belt in space. But you do have Lex Luthor reconnect with that satellite as a way to follow the flat patterns of Ultraman, but also to watch what he's doing around the world. But as soon as Lex Luthor is able to turn on the connection to watch Ultraman, he sees Ultraman fighting against Black Adam. Now, this is a fight we have seen multiple times between Superman and Black Adam, but we have never seen a fight between Ultraman and Black Adam. But right here and now, you have Ultraman beating down on Black Adam. You even have Black Adam call out Shazam as a way to bring a lightning bolt to hit Batman, because Black Adam is based around magic, which is a weakness for Superman. But for Ultraman, it is not. It's the exact opposite. He is not weak to magic. And so you have Ultraman grab Black Mask by the face, breaks his jaw, and drops him in the middle of the ocean. Now we pick up with the Rogues once again. And remember, the Rogues are just a bunch of villains of the Flash. But back in the days before the New 52, they used tech as a way to fight against the Flash. Captain Cold used a freeze gun. Mirror Master used a machine as a way to fight against the Flash. Everyone used tech at first before the New 52. But in the New 52, their tech was literally combined to their DNA, which gave them the powers of their tech. And so Captain Cold can use ice powers. But we pick up with Deathstorm and Power Ring asking them why they have not destroyed Central City. Now, the Rogues don't destroy things to hurt people. No, they just want to grab money, and really, that is it. They love the cities too much, and they have a rule not to cause harm to innocent people. But while Captain Cold is trying to tell Power Ring and Deathstorm that, Power Ring starts to freak out and he basically starts to attack the Rogues. Now, while fighting against the Rogues, you have Deathstorm change the DNA of Captain Cold by removing the ability to use ice powers. Now, you have Mirror Master open a portal to travel through mirrors as a way for the group to escape. They even try to grab Captain Cold as well after he just lost his powers. But right when they all get through the portal, Power Ring breaks the mirror they used to escape and throws the powers of Mirror Master all over the place and throws Captain Cold into Metropolis. but the rest of the rogues are still trapped in the mirror world, unable to leave. Something has happened to Mirror Master Powers. But you have Mirror Master say to Captain Cold that he sees a Superman in the city, but in reality it is Bizarro and Lex Luther. But as a way to close the third chapter of this story and to wrap up this video, you have Lex Luther and Bizarro run into Black Manta, and we find out that Black Manta saved Black Adam when he fell in the ocean after Ultraman defeated him. But then you have Captain Cold join all of them as well. This is where you have all of them kind of agree on the fact they do not like the Crime Syndicate for their own reasons. Black Manta, well, he want to be the one to kill Aquaman. Captain Cold hates the idea of killing innocent people. Lex want to be the one in control of the world, and Black Adam just wants revenge. And so the story closes with all of them agreeing to work together. And guys, so we pick up a couple hours after the ending of our last video, where we pick up with Batman taking Catwoman to the Batcave, which this would be the first time Catwoman has ever been inside the Batcave. But this is Batman trying to come up with a plan on how they are going to save Nightwing, since he was captured by the Crime Syndicate in our last video. The problem is that the Crime Syndicate has taken over all technology in the world, so Batman and Catwoman has to rely on an old school motorcycle that does not have any technology at all. They are going to try to save the world on their own as a two-man army. Now we do get a 2-page setting that just reminds us that Lex Luthor, Captain Cold, Black Manta, Black Adam, and Bizarro are going to team up, hoping to find a way to stop the Crime Syndicate, which right now they don't have a plan at all. And so they're going to sit around for a while until they are able to figure out some kind of plan to stop them. We then jump over to Ultraman, right now looking for more kryptonite to absorb, since for Ultraman he needs kryptonite to survive, where it would usually kill off Superman. And so you have Ultraman confront Metallo, which is a classic Superman villain. But this villain is a man whose brain is trapped inside a mechanical body, but has a kryptonite heart to keep him alive. Which that is when you have Ultraman take the heart to absorb so he can survive. After he does that, we have Superwoman appear. Now remember, in our last video, we found out that she was cheating on Ultraman with Owlman. Apparently, she got pregnant from Owlman and they were trying to hide their child from Ultraman. Well then, we come to find out that was a lie, that the baby actually belongs to Ultraman, and she tells Ultraman that Owlman is going to betray them. She says that Owlman is going to take Nightwing to fight against the rest of the Crime Syndicate. But we also learn that Ultraman is trying to use Firestorm as a way to turn certain objects into kryptonite as a way to stay strong. Now, the second half of the 4th chapter, we pick up with Lex Luthor right now trying to break into a Wayne lab to get some equipment to help them with their fight against the Crime Syndicate. Now, we do get a brief moment where you have Bizarro being scared of the dark, and Lex Luthor has to comfort Bizarro. Kind of like a weird father and son moment there, to be more exact. But after that, you have the group of villains break into the Wayne lab, but when they do, they run into Batman and Catwoman, who are also there to basically take some Wayne tech to use against the Crime Syndicate, which of course it does lead into a fight between the two sides in the middle of the lab. Now, this is the moment where you have Jeff Johns, which was the guy who wrote this story, kind of say, you know what, it's time for a big full-on battle between a lot of different characters. Because as soon as Batman and Catwoman fight against Lex Luthor and the rest of the supervillains that came with Lex Luthor, that is when you have Power Ring appear, and he brings in his own group of supervillains as well to fight against the other two groups of people. Of course, with Batman being alive, that leads to Power Ring freaking out because he thought all of the Justice League was trapped inside Firestorm, which we learned that was not completely true because Batman escaped. But with Power Ring seeing Batman, he knows he has to kill him or the Crime Syndicate plans could fall apart very quickly. But that is when you have Batman put on a yellow lantern ring and he becomes a yellow lantern. But it does not last long because the ring was already low on power. Now the ring comes in the factor that Batman had a plan for each Justice League member just in case they turn evil, which of course for the Green Lantern it was holding on to a yellow lantern ring to fight against Hal Jordan. But again, the ring had no power or barely any at all, and so the ring completely falls apart. And with that happening, it does look like Batman might die. But at the very last second, Sinestro appears. And he's kind of like, yo, what's up? What's going on? I detected a yellow lantern ring. Now, chapter 5 opens up with Power Ring running away scared. That was the thing about Power Ring. Unlike Hal Jordan, the one we know of, this one was always scared, but the ring has a mind of its own and basically forced this Jordan to actually fight. But right now, Power Ring is running away scared out of his mind because he kind of knows that Sinestro will basically kill him. So he runs away, which of course Sinestro does catch up with him. And it does give us a couple pages with them fighting against each other. But remember, Sinestro is evil, so he did not play nice here at all. This man cuts the arm off of Power Ring, which of course the ring did leave to look for a new host. Then you have Sinestro just blast Power Ring, which leads him killing off that character. Now, jumping back over to Batman and Catwoman, who are fighting against Lex Luthor group of villains and the other group of villains that came with Power Ring. The fight does go on throughout a couple pages, but honestly, it's just to show off a couple pages of different forms of matchups. But in the middle of the fight, you have Batman and Lex Luthor realize that they should probably team up and work together to get rid of the third group, which of course they do. And at the end of the fight, Lex Luthor was able to recruit Deathstroke with money. But this is the moment where you have Batman and Catwoman teaming up with Lex Luthor, Black Adam, Black Manta, Captain Cold, Bizarro, and now Deathstroke as well. Now we do jump over to the Batcave, and that is when we pick up with Ultraman and Superwoman in the Batcave looking for more kryptonite for Ultraman to absorb. But the thing is, Batman only has a kryptonite ring, and Batman has that ring right now. And so of course that leads into Ultraman becoming very angry on the fact that he is unable to absorb any more kryptonite. But also you have Superwoman trying to calm him down. That is when we come to find out Owlman is also in the Batcave because he wants to learn more about Batman. But while all these characters are in the Batcave for their own personal reasons, that is when you have Grid tell all three of them that Power Ring has been killed. Now we do jump back over to Batman, Catwoman, Lex Luthor, and the rest of the supervillains who are now going to work with Batman and Lex Luthor. But this is when you have everybody agreeing on the fact that they should work together. But thing is, here comes the big problem. Who is going to be in charge? Where usually you have Batman step up and be the leader, you have Lex Luthor and the rest of the villains tell Batman, no, we are going to do this our way, and you have no choice here. You can help us, or we can kill you right here. And you have Catwoman tell Batman, hey, listen, there's more of them than us. So right now, you should probably work with them to bring down the Crime Syndicate. Now we do jump back over to the rest of the Crime Syndicate, and you have Ultraman informing the rest of the group that, hey, listen, Power Ring is now dead. He is no longer here. But also, you have Ultraman say, I need you guys to look up in the sky. And that's when you have the book show us that some kind of red cloud is appearing in the sky. And this red cloud could be the thing that did destroy Earth 3. And so now, that same cloud that got rid of Earth 3 is coming to the main DC universe. And that could be a very big problem. Now, Chapter 6 opens up with the Crime Syndicate trying to think on what they should do to stop whatever destroyed their world from coming to this world. And you have Ultraman basically tell Deathstorm to figure out a plan to seal up the red crack in the sky before something more powerful comes into the world. But this is when you have Owlman gets a call from Alfred that the rest of the Crime Syndicate did something to Dick Grayson. Now you have Batman, Lex Luthor, and the rest of the group slowly sneak into the base of the Crime Syndicate. Now here comes the big thing right here. When Sinestro goes to scan the place to see who is in there, the ring tells him 2 people are inside the base. The other 6 are far away from the base. Now the problem is though, there should be only 7 people left since Power Ring is dead. But Sinestro Ring told him that there was 8, which of course means the prisoner, we still do not know who that is. But now, while they are sneaking into the place, you have the group split up into 2 groups. You have Batman, Catwoman, and Lex Luthor go looking for Nightwing, which this is where we learn what Ultraman made Grid do. He hooked Nightwing up to a machine where Nightwing is the bomb. The only way to stop the bomb is to kill Dick Grayson because it is monitoring his heartbeat. Now we pick up with Alfred from Earth 3, who is going to release the prisoner of the Crime Syndicate. But right when he's about to walk into the room, you have Black Manta and Captain Cold come from behind. Then you have Black Manta just basically kill off this Alfred. And now the question they have is, should they release the prisoner of the Crime Syndicate? You have Lex Luthor and Batman trying to figure out on how to save Dick Grayson, but it leads to them fighting because Batman is trying to do it in a way where it won't hurt Dick Grayson. But you have Lex Luthor say there is one more way to save Dick Grayson's life, which then he gives Dick Grayson some kind of pill to swallow, where we see that Dick Grayson dies in the machine and the bomb slowly stops, but with him dying. And Batman goes on a rampage because he sees is that Lex Luthor just killed off Dick Grayson. Then we jump over to the Crime Syndicate fighting against the group of villains that came with Batman and Lex Luthor, where we see a bunch of things happen, where you have the 2 sides go back and forth for a couple pages. But then we see Captain Cold freezes the leg of Johnny Quick and he is slowly bleeding out, which then you have Atomica run over to her man to see if he is okay. But that is when she sees the prisoner is now able to speak. And with him being able to speak now, he yells out Shazam, but backwards. And honestly, I am not going to try to pronounce Shazam backwards because I'll just butcher it. But then we get to see the evil counterpart of Shazam from Earth 3. But guys, it is Alexander Luthor. He is the evil counterpart of Shazam from Earth 3, but also the counterpart of Lex Luthor as well. But then he kills off Johnny Quick and then goes around to tell every single person around him that he is going to kill everybody here and then become the best hero there ever was. Now, the final chapter, of course, is trying to wrap everything up for this story. And so you had a story pick up with Lex Luthor and Batman fighting against each other because Batman thinks that Lex Luthor just killed off Nightwing. And so this man is beating him down only to find out that Lex Luthor just gave Nightwing a pill to stop his heart temporarily. But then you have Lex give him another shot where his heart will start to pump once again, which of course Nightwing is alive once again, and the bomb has been stopped as well. That is when the door gets bust open and we see that Grid has been killed off by Cyborg, which now means that Cyborg is back on the table now. Now we jump over to Ultraman and Deathstorm, who are right now outside seeing that Alexander Luthor is free right now, and they are wondering what they should do to stop him once again. And so you have Ultraman tell Deathstorm that they need to find Superwoman and have her help with getting rid of Alexander Luthor. But that is when we come to find out that Alexander Luthor is working with Superwoman, who again is Lois Lane from Earth 3. But she also tells us that her baby does not belong to Owlman nor Ultraman, but belongs to Alexander Luthor himself. He is the father, and she stayed with him because she wanted her child to have a strong father. And so you have Ultraman and Alexander Luthor fighting against each other in the sky all over the place. But the thing is though, with Alexander Luthor, when he kills someone, he gains their powers as well. And so he tells us he had already killed some other characters from Earth 3, but also he killed Johnny Quick not too long ago. And so he is faster than Ultraman now, and he knocks out Ultraman. But then you have Alexander Luthor and Superwoman go over to Deathstorm, where we see the both of them overpower him, which of course leads to Alexander Luthor to absorb Deathstorm nuclear powers. And so this man is literally a one-man army right now at this moment. Now we do jump back over to Batman, Catwoman, and Nightwing, who are trying to pull out the rest of the Justice League out from Firestorm. If you guys remember from our first video, the League was trapped inside Firestorm, but you have Batman find a way with the lasso of Wonder Woman to pull out the League from Firestorm. And so with that happening, the League is now back on the table, but they do not join the battle. Now you have the group of villains try to bring down Alexander Luthor because they see how powerful he is. The man literally just killed off Johnny Quick and knocked out Ultraman. And so you have the villains work together to bring him down. And so their first plan is to use Black Adam, where he would say Shazam. But when he says that, the lightning will come down from the sky and they'll be using a lightning rod, hoping it would bring the lightning towards Alexander Luthor, hoping it would turn him back into normal. Because that's how it works with Shazam and Black Adam powers. Usually when they say Shazam, they turn back into their normal forms. And they are hoping the same thing would work on Alexander Luthor, since he is an Earth 3 version of Shazam. But when they go through with this plan, it does not work. We can assume because he is from Earth 3 and maybe the magic is different, and so with that right there, it does not work. The powers of Shazam does not work on this Earth 3 counterpart of Shazam. Now you have Alexander Luthor beat down every single villain who was part of the plan originally. Then he goes after Lex Luthor and starts to tell him that he is weak, that he is the stronger version of them. And so with that being said, he starts to beat him down. But Lex Luthor says that you are me, which means when I say your magic word by touching you, then lightning will come down once again. But with the lightning rod still stuck inside Alexander Luthor's body, the lightning does come down and turn straight into Alexander Luthor back to normal. But since he was badly stabbed by the lightning rod, he is unable to heal and he dies just like that. And so now the story wraps up with basically the moon being moved back to its original spot in space. And with that happening, Ultraman is no longer able to fight at all since he is the exact opposite of Superman. The sun makes him weak to the point where Lex Luthor just leaves him there to suffer. Lex Luthor even says that he is not going to kill Ultraman. He will let the sun just make him feel constant pain for the rest of his life. You also have Lex Luthor help Superman out with the kryptonite in his brain by just doing surgery on him, which is a way for Lex Luthor to brag on the fact that he saved Superman's life. Then you have the story just give us a bunch of different things that will come out of this event. You have Lex Luthor tell the group of villains who helped him in the battle that their records have been wiped. They are literally innocent men now. There is no past incidents on their personal records. Then we get a one page of what is going on with Batman, where you have him trying to convince Catwoman to join the League or to be a good guy from now on, which of course does not work. And then you have him asking Dick Grayson to go undercover. And we all know that leads into the Grayson series, which he becomes a spy. But the biggest thing about the last few pages, we see who is the person who actually destroyed Earth 3. That one person is the Anti-Monitor, who is going around killing off universes to gather power to kill off Darkseid.